First up, we have a proclamation honoring law enforcement officers. I'd ask if Police Chief Coughlin would join me, and Sheriff Chitwood is here as well if he would join me. County Council Member Danny Robbins is here if he would join me. And also if I could have Corporal Ralph Huntefield, Sergeant Josh Holloway, Officer David McAllister, Officer Margaret Deal, Tristan Ingram, Officer Logan Dunbar, Officer Christopher Beatty, Officer Jordan Ishikawa, Officer Jonathan Jones, and Volusia Sergeant Austin Hairston and Deputy Brady Bergeron. If all those folks can join me here for this proclamation. All right. I don't want to be in front of you guys. Yeah. Okay, so tonight is an honoring of the bravery of these fine folks, but really all the others that are here in this room joining us tonight. And this proclamation says, whereas we are grateful for the daily sacrifices made by all law enforcement officers who have answered the call to duty, selflessly sacrificing to serve our community and protect the rights of our citizens. And whereas a dangerous pursuit of a felon began in Port Orange and ultimately ended in New Smyrna Beach on Saturday, November 21st, 2020. During the course of this pursuit, numerous citizens' lives were placed in danger. In recognition of the dire circumstances, New Smyrna Beach and Volusia Sheriff's law enforcement officers risked their lives to protect innocent citizens. In the course of the attempted arrest, New Smyrna Beach Police Corporal Ralph Hunfield was wounded when the suspect fired indiscriminately at police. And whereas the quick, decisive action of numerous law enforcement officers that you see here before you tonight ran towards danger and towards the sound of gunshots, and that doubtless saved innocent lives of New Smyrna Beach residents. And also the trust, communication, and collaboration between all local law enforcement agencies involved was displayed during this event was exemplary. Their loyalty, devotion to protect our peace and security should never be taken for granted. Now, therefore, I, Russ Owen, Mayor of the City of New Smyrna Beach, ask that all our elected officials, our staff, and our citizens join me in expressing our most sincere gratitude to these law enforcement officers before you tonight. With that, I believe, Sheriff, if you want to say a few words.
I'll defer.
You'll defer?
We got a lot of business to do.
We got a lot of business to do. We got Chief Coughlin. Anything to say?
Just one thing real quick. As Chief of Police, very, very proud of my staff here. These guys that go out here and do this job every single day, not knowing whether or not they're going to do a routine traffic stop that turns out okay, or end up in a situation like this where all their training and their bravery comes to the forefront. That's what police work is all about. I want to take a minute to thank the sheriff and his staff, many of who are here today. In the proclamation, it mentions collaboration. It's actually a partnership. We can't do this by ourselves, and we couldn't have any better partners than the Volusia Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Chitwood and his staff. They all came out that afternoon and evening, worked throughout the night, and did everything they could to support us as a small law enforcement agency. So on behalf of myself and the rest of the agency, thank you, Sheriff, and particularly to the staff. Thank you.
Now I have to say something. And what I want the residents of New Smyrna Beach to know is you have one hell of a police department here. And if you didn't know it, watch that body camera footage and watch the way these men and women interacted along with Deputy Bergeron and Sergeant COVID-19 did it to me. Sorry, Sarge. Just to watch how everybody worked methodically to take care of an extremely dangerous and deadly situation. You should really be proud of your police department and your chief.
Thank you, guys. I can't tell you how extremely proud I am, just as the councilman here in District 3, to work alongside some of the greatest men and women here in Volusia County, our law enforcement, our fire and EMS agencies. But day in, day out, they risk it all. And not a lot of folks know exactly what they go through. And just to throw it out there, politicians, you'll hear it. I became one back in August. But servant leadership. Take a look at these men and women right here. This is the definition of servant leadership. But the New Smyrna Beach Police Department, Volusia County Sheriff's Office consistently leads our community with above and beyond dedication in every aspect. I can't stress that enough. Every aspect with customer service to our citizens that is second to none. I can't tell you guys how proud I am of you guys, and we're here for you. We love you. Anything we could do for you, let us know. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
We have two other proclamations here tonight, also extremely important and impactful in our city's history. And first, we'll do this one first. Joining me today is Mr. Harrell. And if you don't know Mr. Harrell, you're missing out. He's a legend in New Smyrna Beach. I'd start listing his accomplishments, but we'd never go home tonight. So, done many amazing things. The 2019 Citizen of the Year, first ever to win that award in New Smyrna Beach, is what I know him for. So, with that, we have two proclamations today. One is in recognition of Black History Month in New Smyrna Beach. It says, whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas in 1950, Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson, noted black scholar and son of former slaves, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas Dr. Woodson initiated Black History Week, February 12, 1926, and for many years, the second week of February, chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by African Americans in the United States. And whereas in 1976, as part of the National Bicentennial Black History Week, this was expanded and became established as Black History Month, and that is now celebrated all over North America and indeed right here in New Smyrna Beach. And whereas the entire month serves as an occasion to rediscover the endearing stories of African Americans and the gifts of freedom, purpose, and opportunity they have bestowed on future generations. And it's also time to commemorate the countless contributions, many of whom lived through and surmounted the scourge of segregation, racial prejudice, and discrimination. And they went on to enrich every fiber of American life. Now, therefore, I, Russ Owen, Mayor of the City of New Smyrna, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as National Black History Month. And I call upon all public officials, educators, local business owners, librarians, and indeed all citizens of the City of New Smyrna to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies. And in concert with that, and it's just passed, but it's definitely worth recognizing, is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I was saddened that this year we weren't able to do the routine events and ceremonies that we have. I can tell you I've been talking with some city leaders, and we're thinking about some even bigger things for next year. Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think it says it in here, but it's a day of service. It's honored as a day of service. The only federal holiday is a day of service. So hopefully we can pull that in future years as we celebrate. It says, whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities. And whereas the King Holiday and Service Act, enacted in 1994, designated the King Holiday as a national day of volunteer service and charged the Corporation for National and Community Service with leading this effort. And since 1994, millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighbors and communities on the King Holiday. And whereas serving on the King Holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, to meet local and national needs, bring our citizens together, and strengthen our communities and nation. And whereas it is the only federal holiday commemorated as a national day of service and offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. Whereas the King Day of Service projects are being organized by a wide range of nonprofit and community organizations, educational institutions, private businesses, and other organizations across the nation. Whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunities for all our citizens. Now, therefore, I, Russ Owen, proclaim Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as a day of service in New Smyrna Beach, and call upon the people of New Smyrna to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through participation in community service projects throughout the year. Dr. Harrell, I'm proud to present these to you for all of your great work in this community along these lines, and certainly honoring Black history with the museum. You want to share? We didn't talk beforehand, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you want to share any words about the museum and your efforts?
I just want to say thank you to Netherlands and all the elected officials of Smyrna Beach. It's an honor for me to accept these proclamations on behalf of all of the people of Smyrna Beach.
Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Harrell.